Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video we're going to talk about what is on the other side of fear and limitations. I want you to take a moment, close your eyes if you need to, and imagine a place so wonderful where everything is, I don't want to say perfect because nothing is perfect, but you feel very happy, you feel very content. Everything that you've ever desired is around you. Now, doesn't that sound great? What if I told you then that's what the other side feels like? When you operate in fear, you are not seeing the beauty in things. You are seeing from survival mode of everything that could possibly be going wrong in your life, everything that you lack, everything that you do not have. You find it hard to think positively, and you're overall just feeling very down about yourself and your life. Now, when you start to operate into thinking abundantly rather than thinking in lack, this is where you make that transition from the dark to the light. And when you start to transition and you start to do these things that help get you to that other side, whether it be daily affirmations, reminding yourself to always speak positively about yourself when you find yourself trying to think negative thoughts, it's all about having that awareness to say like, hey, I do have control of everything that I think, everything that comes through my mind. I have a choice of whether I want to entertain it or if I want to just let it go. And when we find ourselves entertaining the thoughts that do not matter, we become consumed. We go down a rabbit hole. First, we must be aware that we are in control of our thoughts. So when a negative thought is coming through and you decide if you want to entertain it or if you want to let it go, you need to make sure you're making the right decision that's going to help with converting your mind from that negative headspace to a positive one. So each time you find yourself thinking negatively, operating in fear, having an idea come to your mind but being too fearful to act on it, you need to be aware of these things so that way you are able to make that shift. So when you start to be aware and you change those negative thoughts into something positive, your brain will start then to recognize that new pattern, and your brain loves patterns. It's going to want to keep going to create that new neurological pathway in your mind, so then that can become second nature. It becomes a pattern. So each time you make that choice, whether you want to entertain a thought or not, that predicts your future. And now if you start to actively acknowledge that every single time you make a decision, you'll find yourself thinking more positively more often. You won't have to fight thoughts as much inside your mind. So a good way to describe that is how I would describe it, which was it felt like there was a war in my mind all the time, like constantly going at each other. You find yourself not really in that headspace anymore. It just becomes easier to just think positively about any circumstance that you may approach. And of course, you're going to have negative days. Everybody has down days. That does not define your life. That does not define what tomorrow could be like. And it's nothing that you have never overcome in the past. It's just something different, something you will then overcome and continue to move on. But you have to have that right headspace that's going to support those thoughts that are more healthy for you to keep you going and to be able to accomplish these dreams and goals that you have for yourselves. And past fear and limitations is a world that you can literally create your own. Whatever you want on this earth, you can 100% have. It just takes dedication and it does take hard work. But when you're actively working through these things, it doesn't feel like work because it is a burning passion and something that you genuinely enjoy doing. There shouldn't be any resistance. And if there is resistance, then it's not for you. Things should flow effortlessly. You should want to do the things, but you have to align yourself to be able to obtain that, because that person is a completely different person than you at this very moment. And you have to actively work on yourself and build up yourself to be able to meet that person. And once you meet that person, you're going to meet another person, because there's so many different versions of you. There's always ways that you're going to want to improve your life. There's always going to be ideas that come into your mind. It all takes different versions of ourselves to meet these points. And the self-work is 100% worth it. It is so worth it. And then you'll find yourself starting to act and starting to become this person that you've always imagined yourself being. There's no longer just thoughts in your mind. It's actually in its physical form out in front of you because you manifested it. You did the work to obtain it. And everything that you have right now, you've wanted that. And look, you got it. That's how we should be entertaining our thoughts. We shouldn't live in fear, because if you think about the past and where you're at now, you probably thought you could never be to where you were. But look what happened when you allowed yourself to become uncomfortable, to start actively trying to build those characteristics necessary to these points. Don't be afraid. And you have to be comfortable getting uncomfortable, because where you're uncomfortable, that is where you grow the most. And if you stay in comfort, then your life will always be repetitive because you're stagnant. You're at that limit that you're allowing yourself. So you're always going to function here. You can do those little things that is going to help you get to that next level to essentially expand. And I feel like every time we do operate in fear and then we still do that thing that we were trying to do, we just kind of look like, oh, that wasn't so bad. So let's say, for instance, if you get very intimidated by an interview, because that was me. I would stay at jobs for a very long time because I thought that interview process was daunting. I didn't want to do it, and I already had a job where I would never have to be interviewed again. But I wanted more for myself. I wanted better. I wanted to grow because I was unhappy. So I essentially started to put myself out there and apply to these jobs and just tell myself, like, I can do it. Don't be afraid. Just do it. And it also helps with humiliation. It also helps with rejection and learning these things that are also just inevitably going to be along your journey. And it's teaching you to be okay. And the more you do it, the more natural and comfortable it becomes, to where it doesn't bother you anymore. So I would apply to jobs and I just wouldn't even think about the interview, because we're not there yet. And then I would get callbacks and I would set up interviews, and my fingers sweating like 5 minutes before, the scheduled interview, or just driving to the interview. I was very, very nervous, but look, I kept pushing myself to do it. I got in the car and I just went. I didn't think myself out of it. I just allowed myself to do it because I knew it was gonna be good for me, even though I was scared. And I did it, and I would just do the interview the best that I could. Once it was over, I pat myself on the back, tell myself I did it, and it doesn't matter what the outcome is. It just matters that I did it. I tried, and boom, got the job. So then you're like, wow, that wasn't so bad, and look what you got yourself for trying. You got a better job with better pay. And I'm going to give you guys another example, is when I moved across the country. I was so comfortable in my lifestyle back home, but I knew I wanted more. But again, I was so comfortable, and I knew that I needed to get uncomfortable to start creating that change, to get the things that I've always wanted for myself. So I just planned my move, saved up the money for it, and I just allowed myself to try to save that money, buying the plane ticket and doing all the things that was literally gonna get me there. So buying a plane ticket, I'm gonna have to show up to get on that plane because I'm paying for it. Shipping my car, saving up the money because that was a lot of money, but I didn't want to drive cross country. But I had to save that money or else I was not going to go anywhere. So these little things I actively did so that I can be where I am today. I was somebody who was terrified but wanted to come out of their shell. And it just takes that leap, that literal leap, for you to see the other side. And so I got on the plane, shipped my car, and boom, I started a whole new life across country, and I figured it out from there. Because I always know, like, at the end of the day, I'm always going to have myself. I literally just figured it out as I went along. It was also new to me. I never moved. I never been on my own. I never had to make these big adult decisions, but I trusted myself and I did it because I knew it was what I needed to do in order to change my life in the way that I've always envisioned for myself. And boom, a year later, here we are. First year I moved here, I did a lot of my inner work because I hit rock bottom emotionally. And that's what kind of built me up into this headspace and mindset that I have today, was acknowledging that I am not okay, something is wrong, there's something I need to do to change my life. It starts with your mind. So I had to take that year to really start learning myself, learning my mind, how to process my thoughts, and just mastering that before now, where I'm actively doing the things that I've always wanted to do and allowing myself to put myself out there, because I see how much change I've already went through and how much it has benefited me, to where I just want to keep going and actively create that life that I desire for myself. And here we are today. So you guys, that's just a little bit about me and my background, and my proof to you that you have to get uncomfortable. You have to be okay with change, because there is so much beauty in change where it almost feels magical. And that's why I say that fantasy land that you think of everything that you want for yourself is 100% obtainable. You just have to know how to get you to that point. But there is a way, and once you start digging in that knowledge, it's wonderful. Remember, don't fear change, embrace it, let it in, because it is going to be so wonderful for you. That is all for this video, you guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Bye. Mwah.